What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock, what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to do some in-depth technical analysis and give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow based off what the charts are showing and based off what the data is suggesting. I'm also going to break down the PPI report and talk about its significance and why this was actually pretty good for the markets. I'm going to break down some big news involving the man, the myth, the legend himself, Elon Musk, before I ended this video by talking about a very cool feature in Tesla cars. Now, before I break anything down though, before I get into any more details, I still have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Don't take any of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo, the link down below, deposit $100 into the account, you're guaranteed 10 free stocks, each worth up to $2,500. And you could always sell these 10 free stocks for cash and use that cash to buy some Tesla shares for free. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends in just 2 weeks. Check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So right over here, this is what I predicted would happen to Tesla. And this is actually something very interesting because you could see Tesla pushed up into open, right, to about 894. And I actually thought this thing could go as high as $900 flat. It was a little bit lower than that, which you could argue is a potential sign of weakness because this thing was actually making these lower highs as this thing pushes up during the opens. You guys could actually see this quite clearly. Before, Tesla would push as high as 920, 940. Then this thing went as high as like 915. Now today, the high it went to for the day was $894. After that, this thing got a rejection. It was actually in this downtrend that it has been respecting for quite a bit of time. And as it was dropping, I predicted that we would kind of like hold up that 858 support zone. So you could argue that it's a zone, it's not that specific level, 858 to 856. So we actually held that up and closed just about there, just like how I thought we would. And we did actually drop through the $880 level of support right here. So that's another sign of weakness from Tesla just from the price action alone. And my prediction was very close when it came to the close, just a little bit off on how high we would go. But it just goes to show that we are showing some signs of weakness right now. Now, just because we have signs of weakness doesn't guarantee we're going to close red. The answer is no. But right now, I'm not seeing the confirmation of a reversal just yet. So I want to actually give you guys more context about this. Now, first, I'm going to talk about the PPI report, though, before I get on with that. It came out at negative 0.5% in terms of the growth. So that's actually a good sign because PPI, or from the wholesale inflation side, from the sellers and those who are actually selling the goods, it dropped for them. So that's another good sign. This was in unison with the CPI report. So I didn't see this as a major catalyst for the markets, but it could have been. And that's the reason why I warned you, because let's say hypothetically, PPI came out extremely hot out of nowhere. And I know that's very unlikely, but let's just say that happened. If that happened, the whole market could have taken a hit, and that's not what ended up happening. The market actually responded kind of okay to this. It actually was pretty good to see this happening, and overall we are starting to see prices overall starting to drop, or the rate at which they're dropping is actually going down, at least as of right now. So this is in support of the thesis that we are seeing inflation respecting a downtrend. The only problem with this though is the year over year gain was still 9.8%. So yeah, it's good that it's going down, but it's also horrible at the same time because it's still very high. And this is where the Fed is really going to have to step in and start taking action because of things like this. Now, looking at the overall market right now, if we actually look at the fear and greed index, the market is pretty neutral and getting a little bit closer to the greedy side. So I want to kind of warn you guys about this because this is more of a warning for you. Just because the market turns greedy, just because we see some very good price action, it doesn't guarantee everything is okay, because this is exactly what the market makers, the shorts, those that manipulate the market, especially from the options chain, this is what they do. So I want to just put that out there for every single one of you. Now, the last thing I wanted to talk about when it comes to news is Elon Musk actually had a big update for you guys. So many people were talking about how Elon Musk sold $6.9 billion worth of Tesla stock due to what was going on with Twitter. However, Musk actually responded to a tweet and he mentioned that he is done selling. But now, does this mean he's never going to sell again? The answer is no. When an emergency comes or something else like this comes, it is possible for him to do it again. But as of right now, he does not have more plans. So let me just show you the tweet right over here. This person right over here, they tweeted about the fact that Musk actually has all these different forms with the SEC that show how much of Tesla did he actually sell. If we go down here, we can actually see the reports that show about $6.9 billion worth, and he sold millions of shares. And what's interesting about this is if we go down here, he was asked the question, are you done selling? And Musk responded, yes. yes, he's done selling for now. So this kind of like lifts a lot of weight off other people's shoulders. He did report this yesterday night. So as of yesterday night, he said he's done selling. So for quite a while, I don't expect him to sell much. And I really believe that he did this out of not necessarily desperation, but out of him doing this for the sake of the deal he's trying to close, for the sake of the lawsuits, because to him it's very important, right? It's very important the vision he has for Twitter. I still think it's very commendable and I respect what he's trying to do for the world. So it's very amazing. He also mentioned that in the hopefully unlikely event that Twitter forces this deal to close and some equity partners don't come through, it's important to avoid an emergency sale of Tesla stock. So that's essentially what his point was. He's not necessarily doing this out of pure desperation. It's just as a safety precaution. So I really hope that we don't get more sales like this for a while, and we most likely won't. Musk actually stated that before, and he is a man of his word. He tends to keep his words. So I'm not necessarily too concerned about this. Now, anyways, when it comes to Tesla's share price, how are things looking right now? And the first thing I want to do is look at some other big metrics out there. If I look at the S&P 500, I actually have the chart right over here. We could see we had a perfectly flat day. Very, very interesting to see. And this is a similar setup we're starting to see throughout the markets. So I want to warn everyone that if the market opens, all right, and we have like a big gap like this, sometimes what happens is the market pushes up, or like certain stocks could do this. They get a rejection, they start to come down, and during the same day, they could actually fill the gap. Now, does that always happen? The answer is no, but it could end up happening. That's something that you could use if you are trying to trade or do anything like that. So the spine was completely flat. It's a little bit green in the after hours. But as of right now, I actually mentioned this that it is respecting this rising wedge. So does that mean that it's going to turn bearish eventually? It's very likely it will, probably within the next couple of weeks. But I still think it has some room to push to that 430 range, even higher than I thought. I did mention to you guys that I could see the SPY going to like the 424 range. We actually saw that happening. So it went very, very close to where I thought it would. It does look like it has some more room to go, though. I don't think it's going to just start tumbling down from here. It does have a ton of gaps down there. So it is going to start filling these gaps in the future. Possibly as we get closer to September, that's my prediction. But until then, I still think we have a little bit more room. For NASDAQ, very, very similar story. If you look at NASDAQ, it's also respecting this rising wedge. It also has a lot of gaps to the downside. So I do think the NASDAQ is going to take a hit in the future too, once again, closer to September. But as of right now, I still think it has a little bit more juice left to push up. And I still think we're going to get that push up. So with that said, how is that going to affect Tesla? Well, if the overall market is not necessarily like tumbling down super, super hard, it's not going to have as a big of effect on Tesla, because what I'm trying to say is if the whole market was crashing right now, Tesla would take even bigger hits. It won't be down like, 3% or 2% in a day, just like how it was over the last couple of days. And as of right now, I still think that there are some signs out there that we could get a potential reversal. So I want to actually mention something. I know that this is not guaranteed, but it does look like we have a cup and handle that formed right over here. And can I guarantee that this means we're just going to start rocketing like crazy? The answer is we can't guarantee that, because if I go back, I remember seeing something similar to this, I think like right here. You could argue that, oh, this looked like a cup and handle right here. Maybe not entirely, but it kind of did. And if you make that claim, you can't guarantee that we're going to get a massive breakout all the way above where the cup was. We could get a slight breakout like this. And I just want to put it out there that you can't be too fixated on patterns all the time. It's more important to look at the levels on a day-to-day basis to see where it's moving. But what we do know is the long-term future is still extremely bright. But in the short term, I do see some more potential downside. So even if this was kind of like a cup and handle, I'm seeing a downtrend right now for Tesla, and so far we're not showing signs of breaking out of it just yet. We actually just barely closed at support. So just to draw this out, let me now talk about support and resistance levels. Let me bring back my drawings. Let's use a smaller time frame. So what you're noticing right here is Tesla has been kind of channeling to the downside like this, but it's not going to respect this perfectly because we did kind of break out of this temporarily. Now, in order for us to confirm if we truly were in this cup and handle like formation, we'd want to see a big breakout out of this, maybe a test of the channel followed by a massive, massive rally to the upside. One catalyst for that would be the stock split. It is possible that that could actually lead to the big reversal, but as of right now, I'm not seeing that right now. It still looks kind of bearish right now. You can see Tesla was kind of struggling throughout the day, and we just barely held support right here. We actually closed just at the support line around 858, 856 or around there. And what I'm trying to tell you is if we can't hold 856. If that doesn't hold, it's not going to be a good sign. This thing is going to drop like pretty hard down to that 840 range. I could actually see that happen. And if that doesn't hold us, then the 830s are in the picture again. So I am a little bit more inclined to say that Tesla's looking a little bit more bearish than bullish once again. But I do think in the open, just as the market is moving, we get those big spikes into open as implied volatility goes up. Then we see a big drop after that. So it's a very good opportunity to sell covered calls, make other plays like that. So now I want to talk about what the key zones are. So looking at Tesla, from what I'm seeing, if this thing gets a breakout, if this thing pushes up, look out for 880. That's where support was. And you could see in the price action, we were actually seeing some action right here. You could see this thing was bouncing back and forth, trying to hold that 880 support zone. It ended up failing. So now that we're below it, it's going to act as resistance once we break to that range if we end up seeing that for tomorrow. Now, what ended up happening that was very strange was 864 was actually trying to act as support, at least temporarily. And that's a like really old support zone that we saw back like during last year, during like the earlier phase of the year. So it's very interesting to see it come back, but you could see it wasn't as significant as 858 because that's what actually ended up holding us up. So I just want to put it out there that it is possible for us to see price action there again, but the stronger support zone was around 858 to 856. Now, if this thing does tumble down, if Tesla drops really hard tomorrow, let's just say something happens, I could see this thing going down to that 840 to 830 range. As of right now, that should hold our support. And the warning I gave everyone from the past is 800 is a really key zone as well. If this thing doesn't hold 800, all right, I want to see it hold 800 if it does end up dropping that low sometime next week. If it doesn't hold 800, then there's a risk of us coming down to 776 to fill the gap down there. And there's a big gap just like right over there. Uh, if that's the case, now I don't see it dropping that low as of right now, but be prepared for that. It is a possibility. Sometimes the market does unexpected things. But as of right now, I'm going to look out for 830 to 840. If Tesla pushes up, 880 is going to be resistance, then 900, then around that 915 to 920 level. And then after that, it goes as high as 940. I don't see it going that high right now. It looks like it's just downtrending. So what I'm going to predict is this. Let me make the chart look a little better before I give you guys my prediction. Now that I went over support and resistance, I'm seeing tomorrow when we open, and sometimes the market could be kind of unpredictable. Sometimes it does things just out of nowhere. What I think is the most likely thing for Tesla is this. I think Tesla's going to push up into open, but this time we're going to make a lower high. I think it might actually touch 880. We might not be able to break that because you could see the trend so far was Tesla. It's been downtrending. It's been making those lower highs of the day. And so far, it looks like it's going to respect this trend. I'm not seeing the sign of a breakout just yet. Now, if we do somehow get that breakout out of nowhere, if Musk announces something out of nowhere, something random could happen. Look out for those support and resistance levels that I've been talking about. But I do see this thing going to like maybe like 880, getting a rejection off that, and then kind of coming right back down. It might try to hold above this channel for some time, but then I see it just slowly bleeding off again. Now, it really depends. Where we go tomorrow depends on, do we hold 856 to 858? Can we hold that range? If we hold it, that would be a pretty decent sign. If not, we're probably going to come down. And from what I'm seeing, it looks more likely like this thing is actually going to come back down once again. So what could happen is we actually end up dropping like this, testing 840, and then hopefully we get a nice bounce off 840. We push up and close around that 850 range. As of right now, the chart does look like this. We are still kind of like downtrending, and other technical indicators are supporting this thing slowly downtrending again. Now, like I said, we could get those breakouts if we get a big volume spike out of nowhere. Sometimes they could like come out of nowhere. I'm just not seeing it just yet. So that's why I'm still more bearish than bullish. Now, what I'm going to do now is hide the drawings. Now talk about some technical indicators real quick. My favorite things to look at are the EMAs and what the RSI and MACD are showing, just to keep it as simple as possible. Let me see what happened to my EMA. It's not actually showing. Anyways, it doesn't matter. What I could do is I could go on the 2-hour time frame, and what we're essentially seeing is Tesla was trying to push up right over here. We got that big push up, and now we're starting to see this downtrend forming. On the 2 hour, we're about to get a 1348 EMA cross, but we're still well above the 200 moving exponential moving average. So I hope we actually hold above that. Right now, we're starting to see some very bearish price action right over here. We can see the MACD is kind of slowing down, so support is holding us up. It doesn't look like it's going to drop that hard from this point, because 830 to 840 should be an area where we get a bounce. If not, then we can actually go lower. But the MACD is looking kind of bearish right now. You can see this thing's continuing to drop. The rate at which it's dropping is slowing down a bit, so support is getting a little bit stronger as it drops. RSI right here, it's coming down. It's not looking as strong as before, so it's showing more signs of weakness. On the daily candles, I'm noticing something else that's very interesting. We remember how we had that 1348 EMA crossover. We pushed up, but on the daily, we're getting a little bit closer to that 200 EMA. And I really want to see Tesla hold this 830 range. If we don't hold it, that's not going to be a good sign, and it could actually take a bigger hit after that. Now, the first thing that happened on the daily is RSI is coming down. The MACD and signal line right here, they got a crossover. This is a sign that we're starting to see some bearish momentum. Once again, it's just barely starting. Notice how these green histograms right here where my cursor is, they were really big before. Now they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and now it's switched to the red side, so that's not a good sign. So as of right now, the trend looks more bearish than bullish, right? Now, could it reverse out of nowhere? Yes, but it's more likely to drop. That's essentially what I'm seeing from this point. So look out for that 840 level of support, and hopefully it doesn't even go as low as 830. It could even test that as well, so be prepared for that. With that out of the way, I want to talk about one last thing that I found very, very interesting, and that's something that Elon Musk, the guy, actually liked this tweet. This person known as whole Mars catalog. They tweeted that Tesla full self-driving beta 10.12.2. I like to call it that because it's funny. It drives from San Francisco to Berkeley with zero takeover. So it's very, very cool how they actually recorded this. And I think the thing about the full self-driving technology is there are different critics for it. So some people are going to say, oh, it's so horrible. We always see these articles coming out. It's horrible. It doesn't work. I've been seeing so many FUD articles. And the point is, it's still a beta. It's not necessarily perfect just yet. But at the same time, you can see there are videos of someone driving from San Francisco to Berkeley without even touching their wheel. And that just goes to show how incredible this is. So imagine what the technology is going to be like in 10 years. Now, something I love about Tesla, though, is the fact that the cars have this screen right here, right? It's the user interface, and they have this monitor that shows you the cars right next to them, right, behind you. It shows you the cars on the side. It really helps you out if you are trying to analyze your driving situation. And I think that Teslas are very easy cars to drive if you were to drive them when you have this assistant. You could see the cars coming from another direction. You can actually see the cars through like trees, through things that block your view. It's very, very cool. So that's one of the reasons why I would consider buying a new Tesla in the future. I think they're absolutely incredible cars. And I think that as time goes on, we're going to see little features like this that are just so helpful, so amazing for drivers. And it's just the beginning. So people love the technology, they love the brand, and I just see immense growth for the long-term future. So yeah, short term, yeah, you could attack me. You could say I'm kind of bearish. I understand that. For the long term, I'm still very, very, very optimistic. I'm still excited to see what Elon Musk announces. He did mention that in the future, there's going to be a new, or there will most likely be a new Gigafactory announcement coming out for this year. So Tesla's going to keep on building these Gigafactories. They want to keep up their demand. And I really think we're going to have a strong end to this year. Tesla's going to kill it with deliveries, and we may see a big rally as we approach this year. Going into next year, I'm still super, super bullish. And I do think this thing is going to break all-time highs some day next year. With that said and done, I want to thank you all for listening. Please remain calm, cool, and collected. Watch your indicators real close, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Tesla to the moon because the long-term future is bright, and peace out.